Can we request the people at the back to move forward para po medyo mapuno po natin yung mga empty seats?
Tama. Yan. Hi, pakilala muna tayo. I'm Brother JP from all the way from Bulacan. And,
Yes. I'm Brother Jomar from Feast May Kawayan.
yan. May mga Bulakenyo ba dito sa room na ito ngayon? Nagpapanggap lang. Ayan. Kung taga Bulacan ka, God bless you. No?
Amen.
At, you're having a great time here today. How are you guys doing today? Great. Ay dahil K-Con ngayon, pwede ba ang sagot natin di ba kasi coming home?
Yeah.
Dapat total it's already afternoon. Pwede
Yeah.
kaya ang sagot natin at home na at home. Okay ba 'yon? Okay ba 'yon? Sige nga, how are you guys doing today? Ayan,
Very
talaga
good.
naman. O dahil at home tayo, magsama-sama po tayo dito sa bandang
Yeah,
harapan.
please.
All right. I know it's been a busy conference so far, pero madami na po ba kayong natutunan? Ako, sino po ba dito ang na-bless? Sumigaw ng amen. Ayan, mukhang
Alright.
napakaraming na-bless. No?
Bless na bless silang
And I
lahat.
think this is already talk number 4. No?
Yes.
Ngayong araw na to for the Church
Ministry.
Ministries series. And we are so blessed today and to introduce one of our speakers. Dalawa ang ating big-time speaker,
Yes.
Brother Jomar.
So, do the honors, please.
Okay, introduce ko muna yung una nating speaker. Our speaker this afternoon. And our topic is about house party. So we're going to have a party this
Yes.
afternoon. Managing fantastic church events. Our speaker is the owner, outside of Light of Jesus. He's the owner, chairman, and president of St. Pio Transport Corporation in Manila and Cebu. Big time talaga to, no?
time yan, bro.
And he's also the chairman of the Integrated North Harbor Truckers Association. At the feast, he is the servant leader, the senior feast builder of our Feast Cebu, and he's the head of the Visayas LOJ Family Provincial. Ayan. So, please welcome one of our speakers. Palakpakan naman natin.
Let's give it
Brother
up.
Buddy Tan.
Good afternoon. Yeah. So how many of you were here since Father coaching and also the what we just had with Kerygma 5? Can you please raise your hands? Yeah, because I'll be sharing some of the things that they were sharing with you. The title of our presentation is Managing Fantastic Church Events. But I would like to begin by how you organize, because it's difficult to manage something if you do not start from how you organize it. And therefore, it's so important that talking about managing church events, I'll be sharing with you just quickly, with the limited time that we have, of what we do before, during, and after our feast. I'll be sharing with you what we do in our weekly feast. For those of you who are not attending, or may I see a raise of hands also of those who are attending our weekly feast? Wow, almost all. So maybe I'll just focus on why do you see what's going on during the feast by sharing with you what we do before, apart from the during, as well as after the feast. And managing or organizing fantastic church events is really just like organizing a party. That's why our title is House Party, and when you have a party, of course, you will need to know your target market or your guests. And that will tell you about the kind of party that you'll be having. In our case, let me start by sharing with you that, of course, if you're attending the feast, but of course this morning even Brother Bo said that not so many would know that the feast is actually the Catholic prayer meeting of the Light of Jesus family. Light of Jesus family, we used to be called the Light of Jesus community, and then we, in 2009, Brother Bo and the other leaders decided that we call ourselves the Light of Jesus family. And the reason for that is because we also have redefined our target market. So, Light of Jesus Family. So this is our logo for the Light of Jesus Family, and because of that, we also have our feast. And talking, Father Coaching also this afternoon shared about connecting and a purpose. And the purpose is, of course, we go by purpose and mission. And the mission of the Light of Jesus, that's our logo for the feast. And the mission of the Light of Jesus is, go therefore, and this is from, of course, that's from Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Therefore, the Light of Jesus mission is just focused on making disciples. And our target market, if you're talking of a party, like a children's party, of course, those who are attending the party will be kids. In our case, our target market, are the unchurched. And what do we mean by unchurched? Unchurched are those who are no longer going to church, or those who are just nominal Catholics, or those who really had bad experiences. Again, Father Coaching also mentioned this afternoon about the kind of, because of the preaching and the things that they or maybe something, a bad experience they have with their own parish priest or whatever. And so they do not go to church anymore. But then there was also a question earlier with the Kerygma 5 in terms of those even holding their own prayer meeting, and that there are those who are not Catholics. The Brother Aaron said that, yes, we have to make clear to them that we are Catholics, but here in the feast, in the Light of Jesus, we say that our target market are the unchurched, and so we open it to all. So during the feast, we make it a point, when we welcome everyone, especially the first-timers, we say, welcome to the feast, welcome to the Light of Jesus family, and welcome to the feast family. And we pray that you be part of us every week. But if you belong to another community or another religion, we are not encouraging you to leave your community or religion, but continue to be part of us, of the family, and whatever blessings you get every week from the feast, bring it to your community or to your religion. And with that as our framework, because of our mission and our target, this is how we organize and we manage our feasts. And so talking about what do we do before the feast. Of course, just like any party, you need to have an organization. We never start a feast if there are no leaders and there are no servants. And in the feast, we have 5 major groups we call clusters. So we have a cluster for admin and finance, we have a cluster for events, we have a cluster for discipleship, we have a cluster for marketing, and we also have a cluster for youth, because 70 to 80% of our attendees, even in one feast, and this is what Brother Bo also would really like us to really target, because so as for us to go with the demographics of the Philippines, we're in 70 to 80% are youth. So we really have a cluster head for the youth. So we have 5 clusters, and under those clusters are the different ministries working for the feast. And once we now have the leaders and the servants, then the next important thing to consider is the strategic location. Taking into consideration whether is it accessible to people, is the ride going to and coming from the venue accessible, and a lot of things. And so, as introduced, I head the Visayas group of the Light of Jesus Family Provincial, and we have 3 feasts in Cebu City and 1 in the northernmost part of Cebu, and we have 1 in Tagbilaran and 1 in Bacolod and 1 in Iloilo. In Cebu alone, it used to be that monthly, Brother Bo would be going there every first Monday of the month. And the location then was at the Grand Convention Center. But that was when we were just doing it every first Monday, and on first Tuesday, he would also be giving the talk. There will be a gathering in Mandawi City, that's the next city after Cebu, and then he flies to Iloilo on a Wednesday, but that was only monthly. When it was decided that the feast will have to be weekly, then we now move it, because of course, when it was no longer Brother Bo giving the talk, the number of course reduced, so we were having it in Mabolo Church. But then when it was growing, and at the time, there was also a time where Brother Bo said that instead of going parish-based, we should go outside of the church. If our target market are the unchurched, then we should not be in the church, because people in the parishes are already going to church. Why hold your feasts in parishes or in churches? And so we got out of Mabolo Church and we moved to CAP building. And in fact, that was the year when I joined Cebu in 2011. We were at CAP. But then the capacity was only about 300. And so when we were almost full, we moved to the Sacred Heart Center. And that was in August of 2011. And then April of 2012, we decided to move to SM, where the Monday feast is now. And we're gathering about 800 to 900 every Monday at SM City, Cebu. And then we opened a feast for businessmen and professionals on a Thursday evening at Park Lane, Cebu Park Lane International Hotel, as well as on a Sunday for families. And we're gathering about 600 to 700 every Thursday and Sunday there. So again, you have organization, you have strategic location of the venue, and then you need to equip your servants. So all ministries go to training by equipping them. And then we have the support services, like our creative team that does the creative work that we use during the feast. So if you're attending the feast, you see a lot of this every feast, that there are props, and then apart from the support, we also have the social media. We take advantage of the social media of inviting those to the feast. There are those whom we ask, how did you get to know about the feast? Oh, we saw it in Facebook, we saw it in media. So those are the things that we do before the feast. And then on the day of the feast, of course, is the physical setup of the lights and sounds and other equipments. And then, just before the feast, then we have our servants, our warmth ministry, which who greets you as you come in, and with gimmicks, like depending on the topic. And so we have greeters and we have ushers who will lead you to where you will sit. And then, of course, you now are ready for the feast. And so in the feast, of course, as much as possible, all feasts, even if it's just a Sunday, so that people will really know that we are a Catholic organization. So we have the Mass. These are the first part of the things that we do during the feast. So we start with the Holy Mass, and then we have the worship, and then we have the talk. And for you who were here with the Kerygma 5, you heard a lot of the preaching style that we do in the feast, where we use props, we even use a skit, a drama, and then even also show a video. No? So here's a sample of a video, just so that, like, this was a video that we use in our series to really people get in, not only involved, but really it's about our talents that God has given us, gifts and talents, that to really hone them and things. So this is a video, a short video clip that will show not only to drive the message, but also really to connect to people.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Actually reminds me of a Little Britain sketch that I did. Please, could I have your names?
I'm Paddy.
I'm Nico.
And what is the nature of your relationship?
It's a professional one.
And might we ask you your age?
I will be 80 this July.
Do you think you can win the show?
Oh, it would be very nice, but just as long as people enjoy what we're doing and we give people pleasure, that's the main thing.
Okay, well, best of luck.
Yeah. So there, we use props, we use skit, and we use videos just to drive the message at the same time, really connect. And as you were doing, you really also reacted to the video. And then right after the feast, or sometimes we do it just right within the feast, we do a sharing discussion so that it will somehow, we have some questions for sharing. This is to introduce them so that eventually we'll be inviting them to be part of a small group so that during the feast, they get a taste and the experience of how wonderful it is to be in a small group, to be sharing. And of course, sometimes we end, not just during the feast, but even just before we end, we do some gimmicks related to the theme also, to the series. Like one time we were using white flags with a song of surrendering to the Lord. Or sometimes we give out souvenirs or even activities like they blew something that to really involve the congregation, the audience. And the last of the things that we do after the feast, because it's not enough that you attract them to the feast, but you also would want them to come back to the feast. And one of the things that we do after the feast, but just before they go, is also to ask. If you were attending the feast, then you must have experienced this, that in the beginning we ask our first-timers, and we say that you have a welcome gift, and don't leave without receiving your welcome gift. And so we gather the first-timers, we welcome them officially in that small group, give them the novena to God's love, the welcome gift, and then also really get the basic information so that they can be connected to and invited the next time. And even during the feast, we also connect to attendees. There are those who would come for prayers. There will be those who will be coming for counseling, or even just for picture taking. Again, once everyone has left, we gather all the servants and we evaluate the feast every week. What did we do well that we can continue doing, and what are the things that we also need to improve in the feast? And then, because of the information that we gathered from the first-timers, then we text them or call them, those who gathered them, to thank them, especially also those giving tithes. We call them or text them to thank them for attending and even for giving their tithes. And then, lastly, as I've said, we would really encourage everyone to be in a small group. We call the light group, in the light of Jesus. And so this. And then I said that we do this because of our mission, which is from the commissioning of Jesus, that we make disciples of all nations. Let me show you this. In ending, let me show you this building. There is this beautiful building in Pittsburgh in the U.S. It was built beautifully, so strong. And during its inauguration, of course, this building is a post office. The governor, the congressman, the mayors were invited to attend the blessing and the inauguration of the building, the post office building. And when the time comes to cut the ribbon, it was when they realized that the mailbox was missing. There was no mailbox in the post office where the inaugural letter is to be dropped. And why I'm sharing that with you? In the feast, we can do a lot of things. Of course, what I presented to you of the things we do before, during, and after the feast, it is not prescriptive. Meaning, I'm not saying that this is the only way to organize and manage a feast. Maybe if you belong to a community of your own, and maybe yours is more effective than how we do it. But in the end, if you are not doing what you're supposed to do, the commissioning of Jesus, then we fail to do. With everything that we do in the feast, but if we fail to disciple people, which is the commissioning of Jesus, then we're just like a post office without the mailbox. Thank you.
Again, let's give it up to our brother Baritan. So before I call on our next speaker, let me just have some announcement. For those of you who want to buy Brother Bo's books, It's available book table outside, and you could use your credit card here at the second floor. And before we leave this class also, we'll be also having our love offering, so kindly prepare your love gifts after this class. Our next speaker has been in the community and serving the Lord in different capacities since the age of 12. He's the senior builder of Feast Makati, the Vice President and Head of the Technical Division of Shepherd's Voice Radio and TV Foundation. He has directed the learning seminars on leadership and marketing of John Maxwell, Al Rees, Dennis Waitley, Drayton Bird, and Francis Kong. His resume also lists the following events that he directed: Smart Leadership Summit, Smart IT Summit, PLDT Fast Track Events, and the yearly AIM Alumni Homecoming. He has been married for 2 years now to Tessa Barha and is father to a handsome 4-month-old baby boy named Siki. Friends, let's give it up for Brother Randy Borromeo.
Thank you. I've been married for 4 years now, 5 years, 6 years, sorry. My wife's here, and we have a 4-year-old kid. Anyway, good afternoon. Are you having fun so far? Why don't we give Buddy another round of applause? Thank you, Buddy. You know, our feasts in Cebu are budding. Our feasts in Cebu are growing, and it's because of the leadership of Brother Buddy. We're going to talk to you about organizing awesome church events. How many of you come from different charismatic communities? Can I see a raise of hands? How many of you come from different parishes? Okay. How many of you have anniversaries? How many of you have nice fundraising activities in church, in your parish, in your communities? And that's what I want to talk to you about. How to engineer an event, how to architect an event. And Brother Buddy shared with you how we do it at the feast. I'm going to share with you how to do it as an event, okay? As an event, especially for church. And I'm going to refer to our experience in the Kerygma Conference, okay? I'm going to share with you some things about the Kerygma Conference, and I hope this will help you in organizing awesome church events. No one wants to attend, no one wants to go to a boring event. I just want to see a raise of hands. How many of you want to go to a quiet, boring event? Please raise your hands. No one. No one. You want to have spice, you want to have fun, you want to have great, technical stuff, but how do you do it? But even if you want to do a lot of stuff, if you don't know how to raise funds for it, that's also another thing. I'm going to read to you Luke chapter 14, verse 28. It says, "For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.'" In short, if you want to architect a nice event for your church organization, for your parish, for your charismatic communities, you need to sit down and plan first. I think one of the biggest mistakes of a lot of groups is trying to organize something without enough planning. Let's have a fundraising activity. Oo, tama. Sige, mag-imbita tayo ng artista. Mag-imbita tayo ng artista, pakantahin natin. Okay na. At the end of the day, you realize that you didn't have enough logistics, you didn't have enough, you end up with less money. May utang ka pa. How many of you have experienced that? Diba? Okay na, biglang ako patay. Ano nangyari? I want to emphasize that everything that we do is in anything in life, everything you do is a process, right? You go, I graduated BS Mathematics, major in computer science. And I like processes. I like doing flow charts. You do this step 1 and then you go to step 2 and then you go to step 3. If you don't get the desired results, you go back to step 2 and go back to step 1 and you do it all over again until you hit or you come up with the right formula. And that's pretty much that's pretty much the same things that you do when you do event management. A process is a repeatable series of tasks. It's a repeatable series of tasks. I've had the privilege of attending a workshop of William O'Toole, and William O'Toole is the one who who started Hillsong Conference. He also has been invited by all the different governments, Dubai, UK, to hold festivals and events. And this is one thing that I learned from him. I'm going to show you a 3-dimensional model of event management. All right, 3-dimensional model of event management, and these are the things that you need to remember. Okay, if you're going to organize an event, you have to have design. Okay, I don't have enough time to discuss all of these, but you have to have design, marketing, administration, operations, and risk. Later, I'll share you about the risk, okay? And then you also need to know that the different stages, the phases are initiation, planning, implementation, event, and closure. A lot of the events that we organize, sometimes because of our eagerness and because of our, after organizing an event, you get tired, nawawalan na ng closure. There's no more evaluation. If you don't evaluate your last event, you're gonna have a hard time doing another event because you don't know what lessons you've learned in that event. So, having shown you this illustration, these are the processes, and this is what Bill O'Toole calls event management book of knowledge. If you have all these, okay, then you will have a successful event. But of course, we know that we also rely a lot on God's anointing, God's power, God's miracles, right? Right? Are you still awake? Okay. So event management is a group of processes weaved together to create the ultimate outcome. That's the event. Which is the event. It's a series, it's a group, it's a different sets of processes that you work on so that you will come up with a terrific and a wonderful event. Have I organized events that flopped? Yes, and I've learned my lesson. I remember organizing something and I did not take these things into consideration, and it flopped. But I learned my lesson. I'm going to show you just to. Again, I only have 20 seconds left. No, I only have a few minutes left. But I just want to show you there's a flow chart that I use. Okay, I can share this with you. I don't know, maybe when we have coffee or whatever. But I'm going to show you the flow chart that I use, and this is pretty much what I use for events. Hello, super mo yun. Ano ba yan? So, again, I learned this from William O'Toole. He's for me the guy, all right? So, you have to have brief summary expectations, assumptions. That's why you have to sit down. You have to meet. What do we want to do, all right? You have to decide what you want to do. You have to decide what you want to achieve, okay? Mission. Every event has to have a mission. Every event has to have a goal, even if it's just for church. Kerygma Conference, we have a mission, we have a goal, okay? And then you have measurable objectives. You kind of chop it up so you know if you're progressing. When we started Kerygma Conference, we only had 5,000 people, 7,000 people, 9,000 people, and we used that to measure. Those things, the three things on top, they're general. Now, I want to focus for a few minutes on these. What's happening? Okay. All right. Uy, serious ah? Okay. Ganun ba ako kabigat? Okay. These things, okay? You have to have a scope. What's the scope? You have to know when the date is, who will be involved, where do you want to hold it. Hindi pwedeng, ano na lang tayo, sige, kanta tayo. Teka, saan ba tayo kukuha ng libre? You have to plan for it. Where do you want to hold it? Who will be involved? You have to also think about stakeholder management. Who are the stakeholders of the event? If you're a church or charismatic community, the stakeholders are the elders, the people who will attend. If government has a role in it, the government, if you're doing a festival or something, you have to determine who the stakeholders are. Okay. Saan galing yun? Sino to? Youth? All right. Can we send someone to just kind of warn them? This whole floor is safe, but the floor is safe, but the LED is not. Okay. So can someone just tell them to relax? Okay. I can feel what they're feeling because we're of the same age, but okay. You have to have, this is important, you have to have work breakdown structure. You have to give assignments. You have to give assignments. And if you're a leader, if you're going to organize it, I do a lot of, I can do things that other people cannot, but I can also, I can't do things that other people can. I kind of, don't like working out the details. I pay attention to details, but I kind of not work out the details. So in Shepherd's Voice Radio and TV, we have a big events management, and he's the one doing that. So you have to have work breakdown structure, and you have to think about the risk, like what's happening now. Okay? Which we did not think of. All right? The shaking. And then you have to talk about budget. You have to talk about tasks. You have to have a schedule, a Gantt chart. Believe it or not, Kerygma Conference, we have when Joy Sosoban was still Joy Sosoban Roa now, when she was still handling our big events, we have a milestone, and these are stuff that you should remember. You have to have responsibility. You have to know what your resources are. How much money do we want to make? That's a very important question. Before you think how much money are we going to spend, ask yourself first, how much money do we want to make? How much profit do we want to make? How much money do we want to raise funds for? And I'll share with you later about what we do in the Kerygma Conference. Kerygma Conference is 9 years already. So you have to have a checklist. You have to have a checklist so you won't forget. And the thing is, if you initially work out a checklist, your second event will be easier because you now have an idea how to do the next event because you have a checklist. If you forget something, you add it to your checklist. Please make sure that you have a checklist. And then the event, and then finally evaluation. Us at Kerygma Conference, I think the earliest evaluation we've had was about 2 days after the conference. Because after 4 days, I think that was last year, after 4 days after the conference, we were already talking about the conference for the next year. Sabi, bilis naman. And now we're not going to talk about it 4 days after this conference because we've started talking about it 3 months before this conference. So we already know what Kerygma Conference 2016 will kind of look like. Okay? And archive. Yeah, you also have to think about your sponsors. Ticket selling is not the only way to raise funds. You can get sponsors. When we were starting Kerygma Conference, we said, I believed, and I told Bo, Bo, I want to make this my mission. I want to show the world. I want to prove that you can have a religious event with corporate sponsors. And I want to thank all our corporate sponsors for the last 9 years. You know, they were with us when our budget was 2 million. And they're still with us now that our budget is 30 million pesos. So just so you understand, that's how much we're spending when we do something like this. And next year is going to be bigger. All right? The bigger the remember this, the bigger the aircraft, the longer the runway. The bigger your event is, the